and all that. We have scholastic tests and so on. Time without number, they update and revalidate these tests. What is the internal correlation between JAMB scores and the GPA in the universities? To be able to validate that what JAMB is doing or what they are setting has any relevance. What is the internal correlation between WAEC result, which is the entry requirement, and the JAMB result and GPA? How many lecturers? Because these ones don't require too much money to allocate for research. What research efforts have been made, even in educational planning and administration, to get some of these things in perspective, so that when ASUU is talking, they are talking authoritatively.
So you mean
and the respect of the ASUU membership must also sit up. Because just as much as government itself must show good faith and be serious. It's not a question of balancing on religion or balancing on ethnicity. It is not true that every state in this country has the capacity to produce the personnel we need to fill in every kind of
Well, I think, Dr. Naji,
it
looks like, to me, you have a big point there, because we've seen loads of times divided ASUU as we speak. There's also some issue with the ASUU in Anambra State. Back and forth we go, and we get to see some of these people who come forward as officers to serve the nation from that same constituency, like the minister. Now we're talking about solution. How well can they function well when they finally get into such positions of authority? Is it that they are so helpless? Or, as you rightly said, some of these, over time, they're people you really can't reckon with in their institutions before they got into office? Were they the bad politicians in the schools who finally got appointed by the government?
You see, there's cause and effect. If you don't know the cause, look at the effect. Sometimes when you perceive an odorous fat, it is most likely the person took a very high proteinous food that decayed in the process of metabolism. That is the effect. You begin to imagine the likely causes. If you appoint activists, because there is a psychological understanding that somebody who puts himself at the center will always try to put his house in order. If you're an activist, the tendency is that you will try to show up your knowledge because you are always defending one thing or the other. So that once you are appointed in that position, okay, Mr. Man, that thing you have been espousing or agitating about, come and show us how you can do it. They are likely to give results. I am not unmindful of the fact that the view of the road changes when you change from the passenger to driver's seat. But there is still that issue we talk about. Principle. If you get into a system that does not allow you to function, history is only going to judge you, not the system. So you get out. Save your name.
Can we solve this situation that we have?
It can be solved.
How?
One, I said the government must show sincerity. The minister should not be talking to people as if they are kids. They should go back. These are human beings with family and all that. Okay? Show some reasonable steps that government is serious. And then
sorry to cut you, because now you just used the term. Is it possible that over time military rule in the country has actually taught us how not to negotiate? Because such words were very rampant in the military era.
Yes.
It's an order. You get back.
Yes. The people in authority, you know, in this country, we don't... I have once said that even if you get a goat and put at ASUU, Nigeria will be going ahead. Because it is not so much what happens at the level of government that people at the lower level survive with, except when they interfere with their lives through taxation or any of those intrusions. You know, outside that, you need that government must show good faith. Then ASUU people must realize that this is a federation. That's why many a time we call for federalism. This is not a true federalism. Otherwise, education is on the concurrent list. You understand? So why do you have a central body that must always be talking federal, federal, federal? Why the state governors are junketing the entire country? crisscrossing, having fun, and throwing brickbats. Do you understand what I mean? As if they are not part of the educational system that is going down. So we need to decentralize education. And decentralize.
How?
Because there's so much centralism in the system.
How do you mean?
Okay?
Because
for example,
we have state universities.
You have state universities. Nobody is talking about what the governors are doing with their state universities. We know that most of the time admissions are given from government houses and so on and so forth, using JAM to legitimize the process. We should also look at that JAM. It's not a question of sitting down somewhere and calling some people to put some questions together. We must validate those tests, and there should be another body, because competition must be allowed. Okay? Another body, so that if you want GMAT, like in other climes, if you do your scholastic test, and there are different tests. You understand? By the time you know that this one is doing well, they will have more customers, quote and unquote, so to speak.
Will decentralizing this system mean or be connected in any way with granting them autonomy?
Autonomy is a different issue, but it is important. But it needs to be defined what autonomy really, because there are so many perspectives.
Yesterday we had somebody writing saying that the universities already have administrative autonomy. That the key thing now is financial autonomy. And once that is done, you won't have all this.
I think the major thing is that universities should focus on the core issue of academics. Every other thing is support.
But funding is equally very important.
Funding is important. That one should always come naturally if you have people in authority who understand what it is. For example, let me tell you the truth. If somebody is embarking on a study, a research study that has national, like all these Boko Haram, all these social, what are the social scientists doing? Has anybody taken a scientific perspective? Because we know in the Nazi concentration camp, Stanley Milgram, one Israeli-American psychologist, once wrote Obedience and Authority, because he tried to understand why somebody could obey what he considered a senior authority to the point that he kills another man, in an effort to understand what happened at the Nazi camp, where even the Jews themselves were used to annihilate their fellow Jews. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. So somebody should, or some group of people can come together. By the time they are able to, for example, I know channels will encourage such as, if you have some snippets of results, you announce it. There's no way even government cannot be interested. But this question of there's no funding, you sit down in the comfort of the office, there are piles and piles of files of 10 papers written by students who never went to start to do any research. Some of them go online on internet or go and copy old works done. You understand? That is what is going on, and we are in a total mess. So they must challenge themselves. If the governments should put their acts together and the ASUU membership put their acts together, the students will fall in line. It is only when students have that time that they do courtism. How many medical students do courtism? We need a study on that, because their program is so engaging that they don't have time to even play music or do video. But that's what you find an engineering student is doing video. And so he's neither good in video nor in engineering.
Maybe they're trying to balance the acts.
You can balance it. It's not possible.
All right, thank you for coming on. Dr. Chima Naji is a lawyer and the public affairs analyst. We're back in just a moment here. Please join us again.
At this special time, there is no greater virtue than sharing the nourishment of Peak in special Ramadan packs. Ramadan Kareem from Peak.
Some say it's a sharp pain. Some might even say it's a shocking pain. And it's usually caused by hot, cold drinks. It definitely affects the quality of life. The treatment for tooth sensitivity can be very simple. Brushing with Sensodyne twice daily will give you long-lasting protection from tooth sensitivity. Sensodyne works inside the tooth and it soothes the nerve, and then the patient will have a relief of their pain. Sensodyne can be used every day. You don't have to use another toothpaste. For me to have a toothpaste that solves that problem so simply is what I like about Sensodyne.